another episode of the Kobe Report. I'm your host, Ryan C. Gale, and today we have another amazing episode coming to you straight from the comfort of my living room, okay? Today's guest is Iimani McKnight. Iimani and I have been on this creative journey for a very long time. I mean, since college days. When we moved to New York, we co-founded a collective, House of Bricks, where we also had our own podcast. We threw events here in New York City as well. And we both just been on our own creative journey since then. I'm just so excited to have Iimani on today's episode to talk through her creative journey and, everything that it took her to get to where she is today. So without further ado, welcome, Iimani.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Ryan, for having me.
Of course.
And as our gracious host said, I'm Iimani McKnight. I am a creative and marketing professional, and I am the owner, operator, and founder of Soft Studio, a creative wellness agency that I more recently launched. And yeah, that is me right now in a nutshell. I mean, we're going to dive into all the many other facets, but just, a little intro.
And Soft Studio, so yes, you had a panel last month that was amazing at Babel Loft, the new Black-owned membership space in Brooklyn. So yeah, tell us about it. What was the reason for creating such an event?
Yeah, absolutely. Last month, I was able to host a creative wellness conversation entitled Be Well. It was at Babel Loft, as Ryan mentioned, a beautiful, beautiful Black-owned, woman-owned, members-only co-working and lounge space. And what is that? Prospect Heights?
Yeah, I think so.
The Prospect Heights neighborhood. So beautiful, beautiful space. If you guys have any time to check it out or follow them, it's amazing. But it was a panel. I had a few of the creatives that I've worked with throughout my career: Ashley Hall, Devin Cobbs, Quincy Frank, and Jernice Lindsay. Amazing, amazing people. And we basically just had a very open and honest conversation about, I would say, like the state of creativity, but also the connection between creativity and wellness. I feel like the wellness movement is super huge right now. And then obviously the creative movement, I don't even think that's a movement. It's just like a part of life. But we are seeing a lot more people strive towards becoming content creators. And it just started to feel like there's a gap between the wellness movement and what it means and who is, I guess, an audience to that movement, and then the creative movement. So I just wanted to have, just like a moment of vulnerability, of community building through dialogue for us to really talk about like how creatives are feeling, what their mental health looks like right now, what their wellness looks like right now, and how we can try to work together and make it better for everyone.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that panel, and I like the fact that you had some people on a panel that was like, I didn't know who they were. I wasn't familiar, so it really introduced me to a whole new network of like creatives, because I feel like sometimes in the industry, it's usually the same people like recycled telling the same stories, and it was just refreshing to have another perspective, and to know that like, okay, I'm not the only one feeling like this. I'm not the only one struggling in this area. So shout out to you for putting that together and introducing us to some new insight and things.
Absolutely, yeah. It was really important for me as someone who typically has worked behind the scenes. So I've been able to work with a lot of emerging and also well-established brands. I've been able to work with large-scale content creators, large-scale talent. I've done a project with the Brooklyn Nets before. I've worked with Adidas. I've worked with HBO. And it was really important for me to bring in large-scale, talent, which would be Ashley Hall. She's a huge content creator, beauty influencer, just all around like awesome person. And one of the biggest things one of the things I love about her is that she's so true to herself. Like what you see is what you get. She's super honest. But it was important for me to include people like her or a person like her, as well as someone who's more so behind the scenes like Dev, who's pulling the strings to make some of these big deals that we're seeing happen, because I don't think that people behind the scenes get enough of their flowers, nor do I think do they get the opportunity to tell their stories, because those people are just as important as people in front of the scene. And then also someone like Quincy, you know him. I've worked with him for years, and he's someone that has communicated, kind of finally getting to a point where he is making the money and has the ability to get those material things that we're all kind of working towards, you know, like the penthouse or the home or the car or all these things. That's not to put his business out there, but he's excited, and I'm excited for him.
And he shared that.
He shared that, and he's someone that I've just always admired for their work, not really knowing much about their story until the private conversation that we've had. But yeah, he even shared that it took 7 years of working 3 jobs, and you know, the average person, he could meet someone today and all they see is what he has now, versus knowing that it took me 7 years to get here. And, you know, there's a level of, I'm sure, anxiety and fear that comes with knowing it took all that to get here, and now I need to hold on to it. And now I need to do everything I need to do to hold on to it. And he even kind of discussed the challenges with that. Like, what does the next step look like for him? And being really happy with what you have and content, and not necessarily always pushing for more, but living in New York City knowing that you do need more, you always need more.
It changes all the time.
So it was nice to just have the balance of perspectives. We also had a mental health professional, a therapist, Janice, and it was really nice for her to share. I love the piece that she mentioned, working with clients that are dealing with some of the same things that she's dealing with, and she's sitting in a session and she's giving them all their advice and help and therapy notes, and then she's left with kind of feeling like, I need to. How am I? And I also think that I know for those of us that are in therapy, up until getting into therapy, we probably saw therapists as people that are maybe beyond us, whether it be an age or an experience. And so really seeing someone who's in our age group, in our social circles, who's doing the work as the professional versus just as the client, that was truly inspiring to me, because it's like, okay, the kids will be okay. Because, like, you know what I mean? We have people like you that are doing what it takes to show up for yourself, but also show up for our community in ways that we don't even know that we need. So yeah, it was super exciting. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I feel like it was the perfect audience. It was the perfect space.
It was perfect.
Yeah, it gave me kind of I would say, like, the confidence that I needed to really push through bringing Soft Studio to life. Yeah. Because, again, I've always been behind the scenes of making other people's ideas, you know, actualized and materialized. And so it was nice to pour that into myself and to show myself that I can do it. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm super excited to see where it goes. Yeah.
Awesome. You touched on a few things there. You touched on, like, the consistency. You know, Quincy, it's taken him 7 years, and they say, like, 7 years is the number of completion, right?
That's true.
And then, like, Dev being behind the scenes, and, you know, people working behind the scenes never really getting their flower. And you just starting soft and getting that off the ground, and, you know, stepping outside of yourself to really do something that you really want to do. So that's incredible. But I'm curious to know, what are your thoughts on, like, working behind the scenes, and because of social media and the importance of content, like stepping from behind the scenes and getting in front of the camera, and getting in front, because I feel like, just me as a stylist, like, my role is usually behind the scenes, right. But I'm always told, like, you gotta post more, people gotta see more of your personality to want to book you, or, you know, to advance your career. So, like, what are your thoughts on that?
I have a lot of thoughts on just overall the pressure to post and to share your story, and then separate thoughts on what visibility is. And we could go into this for days, and we probably will, because I'm sure we'll talk about this after. But for the sake of time, in terms of posting your content and that being a part of showing what you do and letting people know that you're doing the work, I think nothing speaks more than the work. So
I agree.
Yeah, I think that we are all kind of brainwashed into this idea that if you're not posting it, it's not happening. However, me being someone that has been behind the scenes of a lot of the projects I just mentioned to you, I didn't always post, and the work still got done, and we still got to check, you know?
Yeah,
so I think that we're kind of stuck in this share, tell your story, or it isn't as valid, and I don't really agree with that narrative.
Yeah.
However, I do think that we need to tap more into documenting your experiences for your own reference, to show like, hey, I did this. Because a lot of times, especially in a city like New York, everything is so fast paced, and you're constantly working on the next project, and you know what I mean? You have to pay rent, you have to pay, you know, bills. Like, it's like, okay,
to keep up.
Yeah, you're in one project thinking about the next. And I think that sometimes we can forget the work that we've even done, the opportunities that we've had. So I think it's really good which I'm trying to tap into in general, at the end of a big day, at the end of a big opportunity, or even at the end of a pretty chill, non-productive day, just record. It could even just be like you posting it while you're doing your makeup routine, like what really went down in your day. You know what I mean? Like, I know you styled plenty of people, but I'll just use like the Carmelo Anthony project. Like, at the end of that day, maybe I didn't get a lot of content, but it's just like, yo, like I worked with this stylist, I did this, like I got to meet this really person, it made me feel really good. And so that way, when you are really going through what your story is and in positions to be able to speak to people about that, whether it be a podcast, whether it be a TV show, however you get that opportunity, you can really remember, and you know, you're just attached to it. It's not just like this happened and I'm done, you know? So I'm trying to get back into documenting things more so for me. And so that way when I do decide to share it with people, it is because it was really meaningful to me, and not just because like, oh, like, I gotta show this so I keep getting work.
For you.
Yeah. And then when it comes to visibility, when you are someone in those behind the scenes industries, so like fashion styling or creative directing or strategic planning or strategic marketing, I think one of the things that I kind of fell into a rut in doing was hiding. And I think that there's a difference between being behind the scenes and then hiding.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, it can be really challenging to notice the difference. But I started to kind of grow very comfortable not being seen, not being heard, and people not really knowing that I was a part of something. And so right now, and I think,
well, why would you say that? Why would you consider that as like hiding?
I think you are so used to putting other people on the forefront that even sometimes your own needs can go on the back burner, if that makes sense. Because it's like, oh, okay, well, the priority is this. So I think that in not making a point to make your projects or efforts visible online or in the social spaces, that sometimes in real life you can almost make yourself a little invisible because you feel like, okay, well, I didn't show it there, so then in real life, like, maybe it doesn't matter. When in actuality, regardless of what you're showing on the internet, you do matter showing up to those spaces, and you're not invisible. Like, if you're not, you know, you're not the model, you're not the talent, but your needs still need to be met to produce what's happening.
And none of it could happen without you.
Exactly.
You know, everybody plays a role in it.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that's the beauty in collaboration. That's the beauty in creativity. I mean, us as humans, we're all creative, but like everybody's role is important.
100%, yeah, including yours behind the scenes. So I think in honoring the fact that everyone's role is important, because I'm really big on letting people know that are part of the project, that I thank you, I'm happy. Also, like, thanking myself and being happy with myself, like, okay, you brought all these people here to make this happen, like, you did that.
You did.
And yeah, making sure that people know your name, and I'll be reaching out if I need help, or if, you know, follow up with me. Just getting more comfortable doing that and not falling into the habit of, well, I'm not the main character of this project, so therefore I'll, you know, fall in line to this behind the scenes space. Yeah, totally. I'm the main character in my story. And everyone has to remember that. Like, the decisions that you make are centered around you.
Love that. So, moving on to our next question. What role would you say creativity plays in fostering relationships and personal growth and development?
Yeah, I think creativity it's beyond how it is manifested online and what you see, and even product. It's beyond the physical. Like, it's very spiritual. Like, even when you think about, regardless of like what your religious practice is, mine's is, I'm a Christian.
Yes.
So the Bible always mentions, you know, we're God's creation. Like, that is just the running. Everyone is clear on that being a fact. So
it's clear.
Yeah. So even just that sentence alone, like, he created us. Like, they didn't use any other language to describe it. He literally created us. And so it's just like, if we in ourselves are creation, then creativity by nature is us, you know, like anything that we produce is technically being creative. So I think when you're thinking about how it impacts you professionally, it's showing up in spaces and really figuring out, how can I show up my best self, and how can I make this benefit me the most, and learning to fit in, and learning to adapt, and learning when to not adapt, when to speak up. I think creativity is that driving force of, I'm going to do this my way, and I'm going to make a difference in this way. I think without creativity, things pretty much stay the same. And so it's less about, I think, how does creativity impact those things, and more so the fact that none of those things exist without creativity, I feel like. So you can't grow professionally, you can't grow socially, you can't even really grow physically without creativity, because you have to constantly be uncovering and exploring ways. If you want to live a healthy lifestyle, I should say, you are always uncovering and exploring ways to do that. And in this economy, and in New York, you have to get creative. Like, if you want a job and you're trying to reach out to somebody and the LinkedIn isn't working, it's like, you need to tap in. Like, okay, like, how can I finesse this? Like, you know, like, I remember I ran into their uncle, and their uncle might be able, you know, you have to figure things out.
That's
if
true.
Rent is due and you kind of net 30 is not net 30ing, it's like, you know, I got some Levi's, I can, you know, pull up to the park and do a little thrift sale. You have to get creative. If you have a project, you have a deadline, your computer's crashed, you know, you have to figure out a way to make that deadline. And so creativity is something that we're always, every move that we make, every decision that we make, I personally believe is from creativity. And I think we're in a space where right now a lot of creativity looks like repetition and replication, and that can definitely jolt a lot of true creatives and true artists from feeling like, well, is what I'm doing even creativity at this point? Because this person just did what all these other people just did, and they got 1 million views, you know? Like, yesterday we watched the guy, what was it? He did a Chipotle burrito with every ingredient from Chipotle, and then fried it in a pan and ate it.
He got over 1 million views on TikTok. And
I'm excited for him that was something he was able to do, but then it does beg the question, like, what is creativity now? Like, and is creativity in real life now different than creativity digitally? There's so many questions to be explored, but at the core of it, I think that, especially for me, creativity guides my decision making on a daily basis. It guides, you know, the way I wake up, the way I decide to meditate, the way I decide to engage with my friends. It guides everything for me, so it's not separate from any way that I'm developing in any other field.
I never thought about creativity in that way. Is it different in real life versus online?
Oh yeah, I think 100%, because I think if someone was on the corner eating that Chipotle 3-pound burrito,
literally 3 pounds,
I don't think that everyone would gather around in the same way that someone might gather around someone in the subway playing jazz and collecting dollars, you know? But at the end of the day, our digital creator who made the burrito got 1 million views, and I'm sure he got a lot of cash from that as well through whatever streaming, you know, whatever platform it was, versus our jazz player in the subway. He probably didn't get what that digital creator got.
It's kind of like sounding like, and I mean, I don't know, I could be pretty bold saying this, but it's kind of giving like real talent versus like non-talent.
And I feel like it's less about who's talented and who's not, because the person who had the burrito, and sorry we keep going back to the burrito, it was just very eye-opening, but not even just the person who had the burrito, our online specific creators, our digital creators whose presence and popularity and gifts are shown through what they create online, it's still but a glimpse of who they really are. And so they truly could have other talents, but they strategically found what works online. And so I don't necessarily view anyone as talentless because they're doing something that I don't see as art, but I think they strategically found that the internet values
extreme behavior.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just going back to what you said about, like, because in New York City, you would see something like that. You would see somebody playing jazz or playing an instrument and having a bucket and people walking by and donating. But if you see somebody sitting, I'm sorry, making a 3-pound burrito, it's just kind of like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's not going to draw a crowd.
What?
It's different.
What am I getting from that?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And I feel like with talent, it kind of like moves and inspire you.
Mm-hmm.
Like me watching, again, it's crazy we're going back to the burrito, but me watching you eat this burrito, I mean, it's my, and the only reason, honestly, why it came up is because I was like, I kind of want some Chipotle. Yeah. You know, like, so it was just kind of like, now I'm inspired to eat, I guess, but I'm not eating Chipotle.
And that is, I think that also brings up another good point. The fact that so much of what is curated to us in the digital spaces is picked up in very harmful ways. And by harmful, I mean, you know, our phones or whatever technology we have around us constantly reading and listening to how we are engaging with one another in real life, how we're engaging online, and then just being able to feed those things to us. And it's gotten to the point where I know a lot of you have experienced this. You say something either near or on your phone, and the next thing you see, you know, I say like, oh wow, like I really need a vacuum for my place. And next thing you know, like I'm seeing 1 million vacuums on every single platform. And
it's consumption, it's overconsumption,
yeah.
They want you to buy. Mm-hmm. It's just like marketing to just buy more things that you don't even really need.
Exactly.
And the food that I'm showing you is going to kill you.
Yeah, and we're being told really what to prefer, what to like, what to be drawn to, almost scarily to the point where sometimes you have to ask yourself, like, wait, do I actually want what I want? Or like, was this just because like the internet kind of pushed me to feel like I need this now?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think all of those things affect how people showcase their creativity. And you know, I put air quotes on that because again, like we said, there is a difference between art and content, you know? And so I think people are, there's a lot of creativity or consumerism, I should say, cosplaying as creativity, where it's like, you see, I just had to unfollow someone where you're selling me too much, you know? Like, I don't even know who you are. I don't know what your POV is. You would sell me, you know,
anything.
Anything. You would literally sell me anything.
Whatever these brands are coming to you and saying, I have this amount of money for you to push this to your audience, like,
you're going to sell it. Yeah.
Sell
and that's a little concerning to me because it makes me feel like you're actually not a credible reference for any decisions that I'm making. And I think it becomes a little harmful because as a marketing professional, I'm very aware of how people think, where to find your customer in the buying journey, what their journey is throughout their day. These are things that I study and I work with brands to uncover, and not only uncover, but to map. Yeah. So it's like we know exactly at what point the average person, for specific brands, the average person is logging on, what time they're going to check those emails, how long they're going to be on those emails, where we need to put the product. These are things that brands and companies study. We're uncovering all this data to really figure out how to make you act. How to either make you press the button, download the product, purchase the product, view the product. We marketers and these computers are studying consumers at all times. And there's a certain level of integrity that I feel like I have as a marketer to know that what I'm creating is going to change someone's life, because this is how they're going to spend their money. And in a time like right now, how you spend your money shapes your life.
Yeah.
And I feel like creators that are just constantly selling without any type of accountability to the fact that what I'm selling I'm selling this with the intention of having someone spend their hard-earned money on it, and this is going to change their life. So I think everyone needs to, I know that's a little deep, but everyone really should think deeply about it, because
this is life.
Yeah, and you're making a fraction of what the brand is making just because they feel like, oh, this person's popular, they have this following, we know that they can get this amount of dollars and we're going to pay them just a little bit. You know, we're going to make $1 million and we'll give you $1,000, you know? And it's just like, is it worth it? Is it literally worth it? Or, you know, are there ways to do it in a way that feels more natural to you? Like brands that you really stand behind, like reaching out to those brands, brands within your community, whether that be Black-owned brands for, you know, yourself and I, or, you know, if you're a part of another community, really diving in deep, like, okay, how can I do what I like, which is create content, tell people the things that are important to me and encourage them to buy them so it can improve their life. How can I do that without just
selling out?
Yeah, without selling out. I think a lot of people really have to explore what that really looks like for them, because you have to sleep with yourself at night. And if someone is a hardcore fan of yours, a hardcore follower of yours, and they're buying literally everything that you're posting and they end up in a tight spot, granted, you're not responsible for their financial decisions,
but you got to take some type of responsibility.
It's psychological, you know?
If that's your role and that's where you stand in this industry, you have to take some type of responsibility on what you're influencing your audience to do.
What you're messaging, you are letting people know that, hey, my biggest priority is consumption, and I would like you to also be a consumer. And that doesn't really, we need to create more and consume less. And we need to realize that creativity can be done, be had, and enjoyed and explored without consumption.
So earlier you mentioned, you know, there's a difference between creativity digitally and creativity in real life. So knowing that, like, how do you stay inspired, or where do you get your inspiration from to just, you know, continue?
Yeah, a big thing for me is having limitations on how often I'm on social. And that's important because a lot of times I catch myself wanting to create something, quote unquote, and then it looks literally just like something I saw. And then
I
it's just
hate
like,
that.
It's like, okay, so I didn't come up with this. So
me feeling bad. I just stole something.
And it's just like, I can enjoy it without having to make it mine, because it's not, you know, like I borrowed this. And essentially, I know a lot of people say like everything's inspired by something, but I do want the things that I'm creating and putting out in the world to be as closely my creations and authentic to me as possible. So yeah, I try to limit myself on how much I'm consuming across the digital platforms, and try to push myself to really get out into the real world, whether it be with family, friends, by myself. Yeah, really just get out there and get real, raw inspiration. And not just, oh, I like this, I double tap this, and now it's in my brain and I'm going to create it. So that's one way that I stay inspired, by having a healthy balance of, I'm going to be on socials for 1 hour a day, allegedly. You know, they have that button where you can put 15 minutes, but we're working on that.
I had to remove it. It doesn't work for me.
I think it works for me on the days where I have things to do, because it is just like, oh, okay, you got it together. But yeah, it helps me to just remember, like, this isn't everything. All your ideas aren't going to come from this place. So yeah, getting out into the real life. Music really helps me. I really like
music, for sure.
Yeah, I like spending time with the older people in my family, just to learn how, like, they did things and how they see things right now, because I feel like the older generation in America, at least, is not really thought about a lot when we're thinking about these solutions in the world. And so I like to understand their POV of how much things have changed. And it grounds me in knowing, like, okay, we're living in a world with all these solutions and all these technologies, but there was an old way of doing things, and how can we keep the old way and the new way? And yeah, like I spend a lot of time with my great aunt Shug, and she's a hoot for anyone who knows her. But my relationships really inspire me. They help me to think about things differently. They help me to dive deep within myself. They help me to really uncover, like, is what I'm thinking about, you know, the right way of thinking about things? Can I do something with this? I also like spending a lot of time outside. Meditation has been profound and keeping me inspired. Yeah, and things like this, like being a part of my friend's podcast, the interlude, just new ways of doing a lot of the things that we've been doing. Because a lot of times you get in those ruts where it's like, oh, nothing is inspiring, but okay, do something about it. Have a party with your friends and a DJ and figure out what that looks like for you. Cook a different recipe that you maybe didn't get from TikTok, you know? But yeah, like just do something different. Sit in silence, journal, write. I really want to get into art this summer, like whether it just be like painting or even doing like pottery. I know we shared a post about that. So yeah, I just try to remember that I have to actively keep myself inspired. And that I can't rely.
You have to do the work.
Exactly. I can't rely on inspiration to come to me. And also that, again, I am a creation in myself. So that even if I'm not motivated, even if I'm not inspired, creativity is my birthright. And it's also my responsibility. So it's like, get up, make something, do something that either makes you feel better or makes other people feel better.
Yeah. Music is definitely, at least for me right now, a big inspiration. And, you know, we started the interlude together, which has been great. We just had our second interlude this past weekend, which was a different experience from the first. So if you guys don't know, the interlude is an extension of the Kobe Report, Kobe Radio, where me and Iimani, we just bring a group of creatives together, hosted here in this same space where we record the podcast. We invite different DJs, and you know, we just share space, share music, share time, and it's just a really pleasant time.
Yeah, it's a vibe. Yeah, it's super intimate. It's a nice way to just bring your friends together in a safe space. People can get comfortable and really connect. Like, I think when you go like outside to a lot of these like lounges or clubs or wherever you like to socialize, you're typically sticking to who you came with or who you're there to meet. I know we are pretty outgoing, so we typically meet people when we go out, but I don't know if that's the case for everyone. And so we wanted to create a space where people were more inclined to do that based off of the environment just being a little more cozy. And then also, I think there's a level of credibility that comes with people meeting people through us. Because it's like, okay, cool, like, I know Ryan, she's cool, I know what she values, I know what's important to her. So it is my guess and assumption and safe assumption that whoever's in her house is probably cool as hell, you know? And I think people like that. I think people need that. I talk to a lot of people about how they struggle to meet new friends, how they struggle to network. The in real life interactions are kind of, I won't say depleting, but people are struggling with them right now. And so I love that we're able to create a space where people don't feel the pressure that they might feel in like outside spaces. Right. And also if people want to come here and just chill on the couch and be to themselves, they can do that too. So
yeah, because I also feel like with going out, like everything is a popular space, or everything is just like a viral moment, you know? And that can be a little overwhelming, at least for me. Like, when I go out, I want to have a good time. I don't want to feel bombarded to have conversations when I don't want to talk, or just like there's big crowds. It's just so much going on. Like, I would rather be around people that share the same interests in me, people that I kind of already know. That's just my...
I feel the same way. I think that we are finally fully... So I feel like COVID happened 2020. I feel like the first 2 years... So that'll be 2020 to 2022. It was still very like post-COVID-y. And I feel like 2023, 2024, people are finally completely out of those fears of being in crowds. And it's becoming a little insane. Like, I think, we more recently went to a super cute space. What was that? The Record Room.
Oh, yeah.
And we loved it. It was vibey. And then I feel like just last week, it was like all over socials as, oh, the place you need to know if you don't know. And it's just like, does everyone need to know? Like, now we're going to have lines. And when we went, like, we had to finesse getting in. And it's like, people are losing the appreciation of the finesse is going out of style. Like, everything is like, oh, I saw it on TikTok and I'm totally fine with being on a line with 1,000 people. And it's like, I'm not fine with being on a line with 1,000 people for anything. I don't want it. Whatever it is, I don't want it if I have to wait online. I don't want it if everyone's going to be there. And that's not even to say that I feel like certain people shouldn't be places. I just feel like everything isn't for everyone. There's things that are not for me. And they might one day be for me, but like where I am right now, they're not for me. I may not even know about them. And I'm okay with that. But we're in a space where everyone knows about everything. Yeah, and I feel like I'm a specific person. I feel like you're a specific, we're specific as individuals. And I want my social interactions and social spaces that I frequent to feel like they're still specific and designed with me in mind and not with the masses. Yeah. So I'm happy that we were able to create and that we are creating that. I'm really excited and also just like curious to see how it grows and expands. Yeah. Because even the talks that we've had, when you think about expanding it, it's like, okay. And I always feel like I'm on the side of, wait, we need to. And you're like, wait, we need to make it big. And so I think I really love the balancing act of keeping it true to everything we just said, like lower anxiety of socializing, but also making it a movement to where it impacts people even if they can't make it.
I like that you brought that up because we did have a conversation about that yesterday, and it was just like, I feel like a lot of times it can be hard for me to think outside of the box. I'm gonna say that. But I appreciate my friends and the people that I surround myself by, because you guys can make a comment or can suggest something and it's like, oh wow, now I see. Now I see. You know what I'm saying? So,
100%.
So you can mention something and you did mention and it was just like, oh wow, like let me build on that. Let me take it there. Let me just go extreme. Yeah. But I appreciate our relationship and our working relationship, because it's like, it's not that I need to humble myself. It's not that I need to like bring it down, but there are levels and there are steps. And it's also like you mentioned, like these are the core values. This is why we started it, and I don't want us to get astray.
Yeah. But I think it, like you said, it's not so much humbling, because it's definitely, in my eyes, it's the same way you feel about having people that like to mention something. Like the whole conversation we had, we're not gonna tell y'all because it's in the works, but it also opened my eyes to certain things. Like, okay, like it's nice to know that this is where this person sees it going. So I'm going to now be strategizing and thinking of ways that we can do that, while also considering the things that I brought up that were important to me. Right. And so I think it's nice to, when you're collaborating, to be with people that respect you, people that respect themselves, and also people that are very comfortable sharing their thoughts. I think it's hard to collaborate with people that can't share openly, because then a lot of resentment builds. You start to feel like, oh, well, this is just your idea. And things don't work that way. So it's nice to have people that are open to having opposing ideas or ideas that aren't fully aligned, because ideas are just the building, you know, it's not the decisions. But I like to be able to throw all the ideas on the wall and then start to formulate the decisions. And I feel like we're able to do that pretty well.
And do you feel like your background and marketing kind of helps you when it comes to like formulating ideas or, thinking of new and creative ways to do something? Like, where do you say that comes from?
Yeah, I think, so I've had hella jobs. Like, I always think about, like, just to give you guys an example, like at one point I was working for a what was it? It was basically like a stretch studio, like where people just come to the studio to get stretched. And that sounds like a little freaky, but like it's more like for athletes.
And as you get older, you appreciate a good stretch.
Yeah, you do.
Thinking like, that's the thing.
And so I literally I forgot who I was around, but like they were like, oh, they needed a stretch, and I was just like, it reminded me that like, oh, like I worked that job. And so I think what really helps me to think in that way is always realizing that all of my experiences culminate into who I am and what I have to offer and what my mindset is, and you know, just my full POV. And so the stretch studio that I used to work with, the owner ended up, she was just like a black woman, very cool. Her name was Kika, shout out to Kika. But she now like turned into a franchise and sold it like internationally. And you know, at the time I was just working for her hourly, you know, just hourly pay. We stayed connected, and it's just like, you've now continued to evolve into a woman that I can continuously look up to. And while at the time I was just like, dang, like this is weird that I'm doing this job, it really did still contribute to who I am. So whenever I am coming up with ideas or listening to someone's ideas to give feedback, I'm thinking from a full perspective of all my experiences, not just what they're talking to me about. And I really try to make parallels and also maybe even perpendiculars from what I might be talking about with a client or a friend on their idea to other industries. So for example, if someone in the fashion space is asking me how I would handle a certain project, I pull a lot of inspiration from other experiences, maybe not in fashion, when I was in, you know, marketing in the medical space, like when we did this, because a lot of times we try to do what other people in our space and industry are doing, and then we may not see the exact results and we feel like it wasn't successful. But I think if we think outside of the box and outside of industry guidelines into other industries, we can really bring something new. Like, and then people will be trying to do what we do. So I definitely think it's a culmination of just life, my work experiences, friends, and also just the curiosity of trying some new shit, you know? Because I tell people in a heartbeat, like, that's what I would do. But you should still, you know, you still gotta freak it. And I'm very detached from my idea being the best or the right idea, and very focused on learning. Like, okay, we could do this, we could do that, but like, let's learn throughout the process. Because I've been super attached to things, and when you're super attached, things typically don't work out how you want them to work out, and then it automatically feels like,
like you failed.
Yeah, like you failed. Versus approaching things with curiosity, it's like, all right, cool. Like I figured this out. Like now I can figure that out. So yeah.
Yeah, and you are multifaceted, and you have a background in marketing. So what would you say? I mean, I know you work on so many amazing things. What would you say has been like your favorite marketing campaign, or the most memorable, you would say?
It's so funny because I feel like a lot of people ask me this question, and the one that I enjoyed the most was when I was working with Visionary Society. You were actually a part of it. We did What Means the World to You campaign, and that was a community campaign designed to build community through dialogue and conversation. And we sat down a bunch of, not even just specifically creatives, but we sat down a bunch of people within our community. We had a firefighter, we had, you know, marketing people, we had musicians, we had designers, we had business owners, we had cafe owners, we had all different types of people really talk and just share what means the world to them, what community means, what having a vision means. And that I was basically like fully in charge of running that set, and it was also during COVID, so I think it was like the talent count was like 20, and then we had like probably like 10 people on my team. We rented the space. It was a 2-day shoot. It was
so beautiful.
Yeah, it was just really well done. And my good friend and someone I like to consider a peer mentor, Lavelle, he helped me to produce it, and it was just really, I thought it was really, really dope to just be there and to hear people share that. And it also, again, really built my self-esteem and self-confidence when it comes to being a creative that's running things.
That was an amazing project. Down to the talent, down to the set, down to the space.
Yeah.
You really did your thing on that one.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that. I really love production in terms of putting the pieces together. Like, I love doing a call sheet, which is like really weird and nerdy, but it really is exciting to really, there's so much research that goes into it, like down to obviously getting everyone's number, getting everyone contact, but also you like to include the weather, you like to include what's nearby, hospital nearby. It just causes so much. It's just thorough.
And the schedule.
Yeah,
you gotta know who needs to come in at what time.
It pushes you to delegate, which I feel like a lot of creators struggle to delegate, or business owners in general struggle to delegate. But it's the max of planning and of everything for me up at the level of my experience. And I just love being in that mode. And I feel like with that project, I was able to come to that mode. And thanks to Dio, Visionary Society, he's always been someone I worked with for years. And he was always someone that allowed me to really just like, okay, this is the idea you have. Like, I don't really know what you're trying to do, but yeah, like, fuck it. Like, let's just try it. So, yeah.
That's important, especially in collaboration. You know, when you're working with somebody that really trusts you and allows you to just, like, do your thing. You know? Because then it gives you that confidence and builds your self-esteem to really give it your all and give it your best and not really second guess too many things.
100%.
I actually met Jermaine on that set, which is cool.
Oh, really? That's crazy.
And we like been tight ever since then too. So that was a dope project.
I forgot. Shout out to everyone that was a part of that project. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe we'll share a clip of it, but
definitely I'm gonna link it in the notes.
It was definitely a really dope project. And just with everything I'm doing with Soft, community building through conversation is something that I value. That's really important to me. And again, giving people outside of like the go-tos, you know, like we see a lot of things online where, like you said, it's like the typical 5 to 10 people sharing their stories, which we love and it's super inspirational. But I really do like tapping into like I said, we had a firefighter and that's like crazy and really different, but yeah, I'm excited to continue to do that with Soft and to any other project I'm a part of in the future.
So we talked about your experience in marketing, but as a founder with Soft Studios, what challenges have you faced with growing and developing the brand?
Okay, so anyone who's familiar with Soft Studio, it was Soft Mag at one point. You were actually one of the first people I interviewed.
I remember that restaurant. It was amazing. That cargo. I always think about it.
So Soft Studio started off as Soft Mag, and it was going to be a publication. But the idea or the concept started back in 2018, maybe a little bit sooner. So the biggest challenge I faced was really just starting because here we are in 2024, and I had my first event, and
that's always the biggest challenge.
It's so hard to just start and to not make excuses. And excuses don't always look like just not doing it, because don't get me wrong, I was working my ass off in the years that I wasn't. I was, you know, working a full-time job, working a part-time job, working freelance gigs, but it was always, once I do this, then I'll launch Soft. Once I do this, then I'll launch Soft.
Just pushing it back.
Exactly. And then more recently, I didn't have an excuse. I didn't have anything that was holding me back. And so I finally just did it. So challenge number 1 was definitely just starting and stop talking about it. Challenge 2, I would say, I haven't had many because again, it's relatively new, but I think just really pushing myself mentally and like understanding that you really have to be strong. And I really consider myself to be a strong-minded person anyway, but pushing past the unknown. A lot of times unknown for me feels like fear. It feels like incapability. And so really understanding that a lot of the good stuff that we're waiting for and that we're wanting out of life is only going to come going through the unknown. So I had to really like do a lot of pros and cons. I worked closely with my therapist to be like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, and she's just like, hold up. Hold up. Like, what are you scared about? And up until this point, like my top 3 fears in going into entrepreneurship have been resolved. Like, I've always been like a corporate, like 9 to 5, healthcare, 401k girl. And now it's just like on my own, I'm just like, okay, so how am I gonna get health insurance? How am I gonna do my taxes? Like all these like serious things. And I have health insurance, you know what I mean? Like, I haven't done my taxes yet, but I mean, today is tax day, so we'll get through that. But yeah, a lot of the unknown is happening. I mean, the unknown is happening around us all the time.
Yeah.
But a lot of the things that I put so much emphasis on and was so scared of, I've worked past. And so I think just getting really comfortable and cushy with the unknown was a challenge for me. And then lastly, right now, I feel like I'm dealing with just those little hiccups that come up that make you feel like this is hard. Like, oh, okay, this isn't going to be easy. Like, you know, waiting on content from people that, you know, if you're working with a graphic designer and
collaboration.
Yeah, collaboration and, you know, them missing deadlines and then you feeling like, well, you don't know what I had going on. Like, I really needed this. And it's just like, everyone's human. So really just like how we talk about all the time, like just keep going. I'm in the space where it's like, okay, I've had one event. What's the next event? How do I keep myself, not even how do I keep myself, but ensuring that I'm keeping myself motivated and not getting discouraged when things are not going the right way. When those misunderstandings with like third parties come up and it's just like, you want to just be like, fuck it, you know? Totally agree. But, you know, like, and so, yeah, as a creative right now, or when it comes to my challenges, I'm definitely in that third bracket of, okay, I've launched this thing and now the challenges with having done something are coming up. Like, oh, okay, you launched this, now you have to follow up with the content. Now you have to do a recap. Now you have to let people know what's next. Now you have to decide how you're gonna continue your, you know, your customer and client and audience communication. So, and I won't even really say that is...
Is it scary? Does it feel scary? How does it make you feel? Because, I don't know, it sounds exciting.
Yeah. It makes me feel... I don't think that part is scary to me just because I am I know that I can do that. So that part isn't super scary, but I think knowing that this is it. This is knowing that this will be my cycle. I will do a thing and then I'll have to do another thing and that new thing comes with reaching out again, getting rejections, not getting responses, wanting to get sponsors, having an idea of how it's going to be and then it going however it's supposed to be. It's more of a roller coaster than what I've been doing for like the past 5 to 7 years, which is just like more like corporate work where, you know, oh, this is an emergency. I know it's not an emergency.
You know what to expect.
Yeah, I know what to expect. Yeah. Right now, it's like, I don't know what to expect. I'm having an event at this venue. They haven't responded back to me in 5 days. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, do I need to pull up? You know, should we have a talking person? So really just, again, like tapping into the creativity of how I'm handling myself and how I'm handling these opportunities and how I'm pushing through. Like, okay, I wanted this to happen this way. I have to be okay with reaching out 5, 6, 10 times. You know, I'm not like putting pride aside. Like that doesn't come up for me at all. But really just knowing it's all on me. So yeah, not so much scary, but definitely humbling in the sense that if I don't do it, it won't happen. And if it happens, I did that shit. You know?
Yeah. And you know, this podcast, it's about creativity. It's about entrepreneurship. And sometimes, like, I get questions often, like, do I feel like everybody should be an entrepreneur or like, and I mean, it's not for everybody to be an entrepreneur, but I feel like the values, the lessons, the experiences that you gain from just like being able to have your own business, you know, like, or like you were saying, like, how am I going to get this? Like, how am I going to have healthcare? Or how am I going to do these simple things? It comes with a lot of responsibilities and a lot of things that I feel like we should know, you know, and not be so dependent on, you know,
systems.
These jobs that they have in place that kind of like control us, you know? So what are your thoughts? Do you feel like everybody should have some type of business or like have an entrepreneur background, or how you feel about that?
I think that living in America, and I mean, I haven't lived anywhere else, so I don't even know why I said that, but
living here, my experience.
Yeah, from my experience, I think everyone should know how to make money outside of their main stream of income. And so whatever that might look like. And I think it's so funny because while you were explaining like, oh, should everyone be entrepreneurs? Well, first and foremost, we need doctors, and we need we need mechanics, we need people that are doing HVAC, and it's like all of those hardcore roles entrepreneurship can exist in. Like every industry that we know about entrepreneurship can exist in.
You can have your own practice.
Exactly. And so I think that entrepreneurship at its core is taking things into your own hands and being in control and running something.
Yeah.
And I think like we all are we run our lives. Like, you know, like even when I was working 9 to 5, like I said, I had a second job. I was still doing freelance stuff, and essentially I had health insurance through my 9 to 5, but the fear that I had of getting it on my own, I did that when I was working 9 to 5, and that was just the way that I did it. So it's still technically I'm an entrepreneur. I'm running my house, I'm running my household, I'm running my bank account. So I think that I don't think that the skills that come with entrepreneurship can only be found in entrepreneurship. I think that we all have to realize that running our lives in itself is a business for the most part. Like, unless you're just out here with no motion, I think that all of us have a lot of entrepreneurial skills that we use every day, because even when...
I like what you said. Running our lives is a form of entrepreneurship.
For sure, yeah. Because, you could have a great job and then you get laid off, and it's just like, then you're looking for a job, and that in itself is a job, and then you're interviewing and you're negotiating your pay, and it's just like, those are things that entrepreneurs have to do. They have to do them more regularly. Exactly.
Yourself, marketing yourself. Exactly.
And so I think it's important for us to kind of alleviate the difference between people that work 9 to 5s or people that work different work models, alleviating the difference between that and entrepreneurship. Because I think, like I said, like just running your life, it's a job.
Yeah.
It's a job. Like, knowing when to take your ass home, like that's a part of entrepreneurship. Knowing how to pay your bills on time, or those people that pay in between and then pay on this thing, like managing all of that is entrepreneurship to me.
Yeah. And I feel like with me, I would say the difference in it is it's more flexibility. It's more control over your life.
Yes.
It's also just having moments of, downtime, some free time, but like you have to be your own advocate, like you have to be on top of that for yourself, because when you're an entrepreneur, nobody's going to do that for you.
Yeah.
It's just you.
100%. And I think that in the next few years, we're going to see a lot more entrepreneurs, I won't say migrating to 9 to 5s, but realizing that entrepreneurship and 9 to 5s can coexist. We're going to see a lot more people entrepreneurs pitching themselves to larger companies to work and provide them with the service that they may not even know that they need. I know even with Soft, like I have plans for developing myself as an entrepreneur to be able to do that in some extent. And I know a lot of people, like my good friend Ashley, the role that she was at what was it? She was in fintech for a while. The role that she just recently left was created for her. And so it's like, that is entrepreneurship. You know what I mean? You work 9 to 5, but a role by a big company was created for you to do because you're the only person that they've met that can do this type of job. So I think as the economy continues to change, as the workforce continues to change, we are going to see a lot of entrepreneurs realize like, okay, I can continue to be an entrepreneur and be in control of my schedule and my life and my business, while also delving into, more corporate 9 to 5 structured roles as well.
I agree. Yes, Iimani, you've worked on a multitude of projects with your experience in marketing and production, and just recently launching Soft Studios. How would you define success, or what would you say success looks like for you?
So with Soft, again, I told y'all it took me forever to even get started. So I do feel I've gotten started at this point. So I feel like it's a success so far. It's not a failure. I feel like that is obviously a little bit more short term because it's still relatively new. I think in terms of my full life or in other projects that I've worked on, success looks like really being able to walk away from a project feeling accomplished, that you did what you set out to do and that it resonated with whoever your desired audience was. I think that's success. I think being happy with it. I think being able to take the time to acknowledge it and really like sit in it, like, oh, I did that, and not really just have to rush to the next thing. That's success. And just producing and being a part of things that honor your values and make you feel happy and, you know, good. Like, obviously success, getting to success can sometimes be grueling. Everything's not going to be happy, but it's really important for me to keep my values at the forefront of the things I'm doing, so that way when they have come to fruition, that I'm feeling fulfilled and not feeling empty. I know a lot of like celebrities and like super famous people always talk about getting to the peak of their career and still feeling like empty. And so success, I definitely associate it with fulfillment. Like just feeling like, okay, that filled my cup. I did what I was meant to do. I'm here on purpose and in purpose. So yeah, like purposefully doing what you intended to do and making the world a better place as best as you can.
I love that.
Yeah.
And with that, how would you say you are prioritizing like self-care for yourself, especially with Soft being a health and wellness platform? Like, how are you incorporating like self-care for yourself?
So yeah, I love some self-care. I feel like I'm so happy that my mom brought me up in a way where this was obvious. I'm a 90s baby, so I don't know what it was called then, but pampering maybe, but my mom always made a point for that to be just how we lived our life. And in any capacity, like everything wasn't a luxurious spa. Like we also had like the at-home little like pedicure kit. Like she just always, she had everything that she would ever need to feel like self-full, like just cared for. So I feel like my mom really helped me to just always keep that as something I did. And then as we got older, we learned the term self-care. But right now, like the biggest things for me, definitely, I love meditation. I feel like that's like been like one of the best additions to my daily routine.
And you be sending me them quotes in the morning, and I really love and appreciate that, because it be like spot on. Like, yo, thanks.
They're always spot on about either things that we were talking about collectively or like a conversation we just had. And so I usually try to send them like, girl, you know we was just talking about this, and they're hitting.
I appreciate it.
But yeah, I love meditation. I'm really big. I grew up as the only child with my mom, so isolation is something I'm super comfortable and familiar with. And I try to use that time to really like just really sit with myself intentionally, like not just like scrolling or not just like looking at TV, but really like waking up like, okay, cool, like what's the vibe today, like what am I really on? So taking that time to be with myself, to meditate. Self-care for me also looks like just taking a break, like being really honest with people of like what I can do, what I can't do. I struggled with that in the past. I've been like a people pleaser, especially again being behind the scenes. That can push you to just always putting other people ahead of you. So right now I try to just be very, very clear on like what I can do and what I can't do, and being okay with it. Like I can't do that right now, you know what I mean? So communicating my needs and my capacity. And then lastly, I do like to spend just like a lot of time, not to be cliche, but with my friends and my family. I feel like they really fill my cup in ways that I need and sometimes didn't even know I needed.
Right.
Those are my go-tos. And I'm still learning new ways. Like I went to a sound bath not too long ago, which I thought was really, really nice. I do my daily devotionals. Just anything that I feel like could open me up or open my mind up to just caring for myself better, I try to do. I'm very experimental, so yeah, hopefully I'll have more next time we sit down.
So when you opened up the panel, we did, what was that, breath work that we did?
Yes, we did a guided breath work meditation by my good friend Jamal. So yeah, I love breath work. It's really
that was my first time. Well, I think we've done some with Kelsey before.
I was gonna say one of our best friends, she is a psychotherapist, and she's like deep in research for some really exciting stuff, but she is a huge advocate for breath work, and we've been able to do it with her. Breath work is also transformative, and it's so funny because I mean, we breathe every day, and I feel like sometimes we take that for granted.
We do.
But so much can be cured and relieved by just like being super intentional with your breath work. And a lot of times just physical anxiety that's held in your body can be alleviated with the proper breathing. A lot of us hold a lot in, and then we don't realize that like you're not even breathing as best as you could.
Yeah.
So yeah, just really taking the time to like think about like, okay, where's my breath? In a situation where you're stressed out and you're feeling like things are building up, it's like, okay, where's my breath? So yeah, just like
breath work definitely helps me.
Yeah.
So that brings me to our last question to wrap up this episode. But looking ahead, what are some of your goals and aspirations for yourself and Soft Studios?
I feel like we talk about this all the time, but I'm trying to figure out what I want to share more specifically.
I love to hear it. I love to hear your goals and aspirations. I don't know. It just inspires me.
For sure, because it really grounds you. Like, oh, like this is what you're thinking about. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
And I'll be like, how can I help you? Let me know.
100%. I definitely want to really dive deep into just wellness in general. I just think like it's just so important. Like as we're getting older. And just as the world is changing in ways that seem like increasingly unhealthy, it's such a priority to just have a healthy life. So I want to dive more into wellness. I want to continue to do research and any classes I can take, any courses. I want to get certified as a wellness coach. Eventually, I love bringing, exactly, that's gonna happen. I want to bring more Black and brown people into the wellness space. I think a lot of times wellness can look very like white, to be honest. And I just want us to know that like we deserve, not necessarily easy because life is challenging, but we do deserve like softness and wellness and intentional care, especially as people that don't get that even in spaces that are designed to provide us with care.
It's important.
Yeah, and so I want to just create more opportunities, more physical spaces, more digital spaces where Black and brown people can experience wellness. So I really want to continue to experience these new mediums of wellness on my own and then bring them to people that I feel like can benefit from them. And at first, I wanted to just have a creative studio where people could come and do, podcasts, do photo shoots, because at the time that was a lot of the style studio spaces that I was booking.
I love that, Iimani, and I'm excited to see you blossom and to see Soft grow into everything that you imagine. And thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I mean, we're clearly best friends because we're always dressed alike at some point. Before we leave, please share how people can connect with you and get in touch with you. Let the people know.
Okay, yeah. So you can reach me on my personal socials at Iimani was here on Instagram. For Soft, you can find us at Soft Studio. That's an emphasized soft, so it's going to be SSSOFT And yeah, I'm going to be having an event soon in the upcoming months. So definitely follow us, stay tapped in, and you'll see more from us.
Love it. Well, if you guys like what you heard, please take a moment to share, like, and subscribe. And until next time.